Good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So today we would be continue the topic, that is pulse code modulation, and we have end in the last lecture by introducing the concept of compounding. Okay. So I would be take a quick look of compounding, and we have to be complete this topic today. So we have learned in the compounding that we have established a quantization process having the M levels and having the step size S, and that signal that would be swing around the voltage level or range, that is start from VL and end to the VH. And we have also defined that the instantaneous quantization error should not be exceeded by the half of the size of the step size, that is it must be within plus minus S by 2. That we have already seen. And after that we have also defined the quantization levels and the voltage levels. We have defined the normalized average signal power, and that would be came from the equation number 4, that is V square upon 3. Then we have also defined the quantization noise, that has came NQ is equal to S square upon 12. And here we have observed that the noise power does not depend upon the input signal applied and their amplitude. It only depends upon the step size. So by keeping this all aspect in mind, we have to further also find out the signal to noise ratio, as well as we have also defined the voltage V in terms of quantization level and the step size, that is ms by 2. And after that we have got the formula of input signal to quantization noise ratio SI upon NQ, that is equal to M square, quantization level M and its square. And on the same time we have also generate the formula for the output signal to quantization noise ratio by taking the signal and input signal and output signal power same. And in this way we have also defined through the equation number 8 output signal to quantization noise ratio, that is again came as the same value M square. Then further we have elaborate the concept of the quantization levels in terms of coding, that we have already learned in the PCM, and we have represented the M quantization levels in terms of code words, that is a relationship between the quantization level and the coding bits are defined by the M is equal to the 2 raised to the power n. So in this way we have correlated both of them, and then finally substitute this value into the output signal to noise ratio, and we have seen that it would be came 2 raised to the power twice of n. N is here the number of bits required to define that quantization levels. Okay, and in this way we have also converted output signal to noise power into the decibel scale, that is km 6n. And then further we have defined that the quantization output quantization noise ratio should be 6n dB for whatever the sample we have taken, sample signal we have taken for the demonstration of the PCM. Okay, so from that we have also take an example where we have taken the number of bits as a 8-bit system, that is having the 8-bit voice communication system, that is having the 256 quantization regions. And for that according to the formula, we have defined the signal to noise ratio, that is came as 48 dB. Okay, and then we have discussed the terms that what happens when the signal level would be increased or decreased in amplitude. Okay, and we have seen that the amplitude of the signal does not make any impact on the noise power. It would be only change the signal power. Okay, so as amplitude of the signal would be reduced, signal power would be reduced, so resultant effect would be signal to noise ratio would be also decreased. And we have also defined some minimum range of the signal to noise power for the good voice transmission system, that is came as the 30 dB. And we have also in that particular case defined the dynamic range of the signal power, that is 40 dB. And we have find out that as per the 8-bit system, we have defined the signal to noise ratio as a 48 dB. So we have required 18 dB as a dynamic range to restrict this system, and that should not be dropped below the 30 dB. Otherwise, the quality of the voice transmission would be affected, and the distortion would be involved, or noise would be added to this. So for that, from here, the point of the dynamic range, we have come to the definition of the companding also. What we have to be performed, the dynamic range should be improved by the process that is called the companding. Means it is came from the word compressing and expanding. So at the transmitter end, we have to be do the compression, and at the receiver end, we have to be do the reverse process, that is the expansion, to avoid any kind of the distortion during the transmission of the voice signal. And for that purpose, for the companding, we keep the signal to quantization ratio high as much as possible, so that the signal would be swing through its complete range. And for that purpose, we keep the signal amplitude large as compared to the step size. Okay, but if you have to be kept the signal amplitude is small, so it would be not satisfy the conditions for faithful transmission. Okay, so if you have to be keep the low amplitude signals, use the low amplitude signals, its slopes would be larger than the large amplitude signals, and the signal transmitted to such a network would be have their extremities of its waveform that would be compressed. Okay, so generally we prefer the large amplitude signals that would be cover the voltage range from VL to VH. Okay, and the size would be too much large as compared to the step size. And for that purpose, we have to be sure that there is a input output characteristics are shown here, that is representation of output voltage versus input voltage. Okay, so in this case, you can see that maximum output voltage is defined here in this particular graph. At the same time, minimum output voltage, everyone please note it down. And at the positive axis, you can see that there is a output voltage versus input voltage curve is shown here, and that is shown as a we have performed the compression for the large amplitude signals, and this is the dashed line that is indicating the no compression has applied here. Okay, and on the same time on this axis, third quadrant, we have also shown the reverse process here, that is a reflected in this particular diagram. So this is an input output characteristic which provide the compression. Okay, so for this particular network, we know that the peak signal which the system is intended to accommodate as before the range through all the available quantization regions. So whatever the peak amplitude of the signal would be accommodated all the quantization regions, but a small amplitude signal will range through more quantization regions than would be in the case of absence of the compression. Okay, so of course compression would be produced signal distortion. Generally we prefer the large amplitude signal, and if you have to be used the large amplitude signal to cover all the quantization regions, we have to perform the operation of compression. And due to that, maybe there is a possibility of introduction of some distortion. Okay, and to undo this distortion, at the receiver end, we pass the recovered signal through an expander network. So this expander is a inverse operation of the compressor. Okay, and this inverse distortions of the compressor and expander would be generate the final output signal that is having no distortion. That is a signal without distortion actually. So this is the all about the compander. As per the country, there are two different laws of the companders are used. If you would be go to the USA, Canada, or Japan, they would be use a mu law compander. Otherwise, if you have to become to the rest of the world, they use the A law compander. Okay, so here the term mu and A, here the term mu and A refers the parameters which appear in the equation for the compression and expansion characteristics. So we would be now refer the mu law compander, and the expression for the compressing and expanding is that defined as mu, the mod of this signal mu is equal to log 1 plus mu upon m, here upon natural logarithm 1 plus mu. So here ln is natural log, and m is here input and v is here output voltages of the compressor, and mu is a positive constant. And it is assumed that this input signal m and v are scaled so that they both lies inside the interval -1 to +1. Okay, so sometimes the numericals would be also asked on this particular equations as well. So we have to be remember this formula. This is for the mu law compander. On the other hand, there is a rest of the world. These are basically used by the USA, Canada, or Japan. There are two or three countries, but rest of the world, European countries and India, would be use the A law compander, where the output voltage has been defined by the equation mod of V is equal to A into mod of M. M is here input signal upon 1 plus natural log of A, where input signal's amplitude would be lies between 0 to 1 upon A. A is a positive constant. Or maybe you use this equation as per the condition of the input signal. If it is greater than 1 by A and less than 1, then 1 plus natural log of A into mod of M upon 1 plus log of A. So depending upon the range of the input signal, the equation would be changed. Okay, this is for the A law compander. So this is all about the pulse code modulation and what are the problems we face during the transmission of the pulse code modulation, and that we have been learned with the help of these topics like the quantization error, companding, all this. Now we have to see the another method of the voice transmission, that is called the or the digital transmission, you can say. It is called a differential pulse code modulation. So in the use of PCM for digitization of the voice or video signal, the signal is sampled at a rate slightly higher than the Nyquist rate. Okay, we have learned this, that your sampling rate should be either equal to or greater than the twice of maximum frequency. Okay, that is a Nyquist rate actually. So it is slightly higher than the Nyquist rate. So resulting sample signal is found to exhibit a high degree of correlation between the adjacent samples. And the meaning of this high correlation is that in an average sense, the signal does not change rapidly from one sample to the next sample, from one sample to the next one, with the result that the difference between adjacent samples has an average power that is smaller than the average power of the signal itself. If you have to be keep the sample that is at a rate that is slightly greater than the Nyquist rate, so whatever the resulted sample would be came, okay, so this would be highly correlated between the adjacent samples, and we have defined here what do you mean by the correlation is here. Okay, so in this way the difference between the adjacent samples and their average power, that would be smaller than the average power of the individual signals. Okay, and when these highly correlated samples are encoded in standard PCM system, the resulting encoded signal contains redundant information. This is very important term, redundant information. In the standard PCM, we generally use the concept of the redundancy. So in the redundancy, it means that symbols that are not absolutely essential to the transmission of information are generated as a result of encoding process. Okay. So by removing this redundancy before the encoding, we obtain a more efficient encoded signal compared to the standard PCM. Now we know that if a sufficient part of redundant signal, we may infer at a rest or at least make most probable estimate. So in particularly, if we know the past behavior of the signal up to a certain point in time, it is possible to make some inference about its future values, and such a process is called as a prediction. If we have to be know that a signal having a regular pattern, so by observing the past signals, you can predict the next upcoming level or value of the signals. That is called the prediction. So in the case of differential pulse code modulation, we have to be use the term predictions for generating the digital signal. So suppose a massive signal xt is sampled at a rate, that is sampling frequency fs equal to 1 upon ts, to produce a sequence of correlated samples that is separated by a ts second from each other, and these signals are denoted by the x and ts. Here n is the integer value, means 1, 2, 3. So how many the number of samples? It would be decided by the value of n. Okay. So we have to be assume this kind of the signals that is separated with the each other by the amount of ts seconds. The fact that it is possible to predict the future values of signal xt provides the motivation for the differential quantization. So to obtain the differential pulse code modulation, we have to perform the differential quantization. So this is the block diagram of this differential pulse code modulation transmitter. So here you can see that as the regular operation of PCM, we are also performing a sampled signal x and ts that is fed to a comparator. There is another signal that is a feedback signal. Okay, that is a approximate signal or predicted signal actually. That would both would be compared here, and the difference of the signal nothing but the error signal that is defined here. The input to the quantizer is the error signal e and ts, that is equal to input sample signal minus predicted input signal or approximate input signal x cap nts, and then this difference signal or error signal would be fed to a differential quantizer, where the output is a quantized output, quantized error signal, EQNTS, and this signal would be further fed to a encoder that would be generate a DPCM data sequence. But to generate this DPCM, we have to be also use a feedback network. Okay, and this quantized signal is fed to the adder. This is the adder circuit actually, where there is a quantized error signal, and the approximate signal, predicted signal would be fed to this predictor filter. Okay, so the output of this adder would be a predicted signal XQNTS, and this would be again sent to this particular comparator. So this process will be continue to generate the differential pulse code data sequence. So till the discussion, I have hoped that you have drawn this diagram. There is very simple structure of DPCM. Now we have to further elaborate this equation. The equation number 1 is the error signal, that is the output of the comparator. It is fed to the quantizer now, and the output of the quantizer would be defined by the further equations. So this predicted value, if you have to be see, the predicted value of this prediction filter is produced by a prediction filter whose input is nothing but the quantized version of the input signal, and the difference signal is called the prediction error. So ENTS is nothing but a prediction error. It is, so it is amount by which the prediction filter fails to predict the incoming input signal. So you can refer this particular ENTS as a prediction error. Why it is called a prediction error? Because this is a predicted signal or approximate signal is there, that is came and given to the comparator, where the another signal is incoming input signals. If both are same, this prediction error is 0. But if it is some difference, means this is the failure of this prediction filter to predict the future values of the incoming signals. That's why it is called as a prediction error. So by encoding the quantizer output, we obtained a variation of PCM which is known as the differential pulse code modulation. So in this way, we have to be generate the differential pulse code modulation by using the prediction filter, and it is this encoded signal that is further used for the transmission. So the quantizer output may be expressed as EQNTS, that is prediction error signal plus quantization value of this quantizer. So it is a quantization error actually, and this is defined as the quantizer output defined in equation number 2. This quantizer output is added to the predicted value X cap NTS to produce a prediction filter input. So the prediction filter input is defined as XQNTS, that is predicted value X cap NTS plus quantizer output. Now substitute equation number 2 into the equation number 3. We would be get modified equation of the prediction filter input, that is XQNTS is equal to X cap NTS plus, so we have substitute the value of EQNTS here from equation number 2, ENTS plus QNTS. Okay. So however, from the equation number 1 where we have defined the prediction error, we observe that the summation term X cap NTS plus ENTS is equal to the sampled message XNTS. Okay. So when we have to be add this error value with the predicted value, so we would be got the incoming input signal. Okay. So now we may rewrite equation number 4, that is the prediction filter input signal XQNTS as XNTS plus Q and TS. So incoming input message signal plus quantization error, that would be become equivalent to the prediction filter input. So equation number 5 represents here a quantized version of message sample XNTS, and that is irrespective of the properties of the prediction filter. The quantized signal XQ and TS at the prediction filter input differs from the sampled in message signal by the amount of quantization error. Okay. In the similar fashion, now whatever this differential pulse code modulated signal has been generated, it would be transmitted through the channel. Maybe some noise would be added to this signal, and this noisy signal would be received by the receiver. And here we would be try to reconstruct the quantized version of the message signal. Okay. So this particular we have to be refer the structure of the receiver. The PCM receiver is there, that would be consist of the decoder to reconstruct the quantized error signal. So in the figure 4.16b, you can see that there is a differential pulse code modulation system, and the receiver section has shown here. Here the DPCM data sequence is as an input signal that would be passed to a decoder, and this would be try to generate the reconstruct the quantized version of this signal is there, that would be further added. The decoder output would be added to the prediction filter output, and both would be the whatever the generated signal would be passed through a low pass filter, and finally we would be obtained a reconstructed message signal. So here you can see that the quantized version of the original input is reconstructed from the decoder output. Okay, so here we have to be see that quantized version of original signal at the output of the decoder. Okay, and that would be reconstructed here, and then this signal would be added with the prediction filter output. Okay, and then it would be passed through a low pass filter. So whatever the actual signal, it would be generated. In the absence of the noise, channel noise, we find that the encoded signal at the receiver input is identical to the transmitted output. But when the noise would be considered here, then there is some difference between them. This is the practical problem that is occur with the receiver sections. So accordingly, if you have to refer this receiver structure, the receiver output is equal to XQ NTS, which refers to the original input only by the quantization error incurred as a result of quantizing the prediction error E and TS. So finally, an estimate of the original message signal XT is obtained by passing the XQ-NTS through a low pass filter. And XQ-NTS is what? It is the input of the prediction filter that we have already seen in the transmitter section as well. So in this way, you can see the operation of structure and operation of the differential pulse code modulation. Now we have to be compare certain parameters of DPCM with respect to the PCM. So this is called as a trade-off between standard PCM, differential pulse code modulation, and delta modeling. That is another technique to generate the digital signals that we will learn further. So in choosing the differential pulse code modulation for waveform coding, we have to be economizing on transmission bandwidth by increasing the system complexity. If you have to want to increase the transmission bandwidth, at that moment you have to be required to increase the complexity, that is as compared to the PCM. So in the case of DPCM, we increase the bandwidth but complexity would be also increased. Okay, so it means the DPCM exploits the complexity bandwidth trade-off. However, in practice, the need may be arise for reduced system complexity compared with the standard PCM. And to achieve this, to reduce the complexity, what happens? We have to be used the another method that is called the delta modulation. So DPCM exploit the complexity bandwidth trade-off, means to increasing the bandwidth we have to be required to increase the complexity in the case of DPCM, but in the case of delta modulation to increase it would be bandwidth complexity trade-off. Okay, so there is a one diagram I have shown here in the slide that would be give you the correct interpretation of all these three methods. So you can see here, this is the standard PCM and this is the DPCM and DM. So as you have to be moved to the PCM to DPCM, system complexity would be increasing. Okay, but in the case of DM, delta modulation, the complexity is decreased. On the other hand, if you have to talk about the transmission bandwidth, as compared to standard PCM, in the case of DPCM, bandwidth is less. But in the case of delta modulation, bandwidth is more. So delta modulation is a solution of providing more bandwidth with less complexity. But if you have to refer the DPCM, your bandwidth would be increased, but on the sacrifice of the system complexity, means you have to, your complexity of the system would be also increased. Okay, as compared to, this is the reference point is here, the PCM, standard PCM. Okay. So this is our main motivation for the next topic, that is delta modulation, where we have seen that we have also reduced the complexity as well as we have increased the bandwidth of the system. So in the delta modulation, an incoming message signal is oversampled, means the sampling rate is much higher than the Nyquist rate. Why it is done so? For the purpose of increasing the correlation between the adjacent sample of the signal. In the DPCM also we have tried to establish the correlation between the adjacent samples, but that time the rate is only little bit larger than the Nyquist rate, but here it is very much larger than the Nyquist rate. The increased correlation is done so as to permit the use of simple quantizing strategy for constructing the encoded signal. So in its basic form, delta modulation provides a staircase approximation to the oversampled version of the message signal. So unlike the pulse code modulation, the difference between the input signal and its approximation is quantized in only two levels. In only two levels, that is plus delta or minus delta. Okay, delta is what? It is a difference between the actual message and the approximate signal. So this is the one of the illustration of the delta modulation. This is the graphical illustration of the delta modulation. Here you can see that in the figure A, this is the analog waveform xt, that is and their approximate staircase waveform, that is you can say xqt. Okay, and the second one is the binary sequence at the modulated output. So here you can see that this dashed line is the analog message input message signal, and this is the dark place, this is the staircase waveform, that is the approximation of this input signal. So somewhere this approximation amplitude is more than the amplitude of the input signal, somewhere it is less than this. Okay, and the width of the staircase is uniform here, that is Ts. The step size is again uniform, that is delta. Okay, so in the case of delta modulation, the difference between the adjacent samples and the actual message signal would be either plus delta or minus delta. Okay, for example, here it is more than this signal, so plus delta. In the case of here, it is less than the actual signal, it is minus delta, like this. So wherever you can see that the signal is less than the actual signal, there is a binary 0 is interpreted. Where it is more than this, the binary 1 is shown. Okay, so in this way, we have to be correlate the binary sequence with respect to this approximation. This is the base for, or you can say the motivation for the delta modulation. All of you please draw this or take the screenshot of this diagram. Maybe this is online mode and we have the slide based teaching learning process. Lots of the system would be not directly correlated, because in terms of that means in one slide I will be show you the block diagram, in another slide the description of that, may the equations are there. This is the one of the limitation of this online mode. Otherwise in the classroom we can side by side the diagram and the equations, and then it is easily interpreted. So you have to be adjust on this particular learning mode yourself, and if it is any doubt you can refer the video again and again on my YouTube channel. Okay, now we have to move further. All of you can start to feed up the attendance on the chat box as well. So thus in the approximation, that is if the approximation falls below the input signal at any sampling epoch, it is increased by the delta. And if on the other hand, if the approximation lies on the above of the signal, it is diminished by the delta. So provided the input signal does not change too rapidly from the sample to sample, we find that staircase approximation remains within the plus minus delta of the input signal. So we denote the input signal xt and its staircase by xqt. The basic principle of the delta modulation may be formalized in following set of 3 discrete time relationships. You can see that this is the equation that is defining the error signal E and Ts is equal to actual message signal X and Ts minus approximate message signal XQ n minus 1 Ts. This is defined by the equation number 1. Please note it down this equation. Now time is very less. Today it is not possible to cover this topic. Okay. So we would be wait for the next lectures tomorrow. So here from this point I would be start on the delta modulation. So tomorrow we would be learn the delta modulation, its limitation, as well as adaptive delta modulation. That is the one of the remedy, whatever the problems or whatever the drawbacks of the delta modulation, that is countered by the adaptive delta modulation. So thank you all of you for attending the lecture today. Those who are still not fill the attendance, please complete your attendance. Okay, thank you.